Okay, now we're going to talk about unit circle. Unit circle is one of the most interesting topics in pre-calculus, but a lot of times students don't really get the concept. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to explain the concept of a unit circle, and we're going to make some sense of it. So what is a unit circle? A unit circle really is a circle that has a radius of 1 unit. That's all it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to draw some axes inside the circle to show you something. So let's try to, okay, let's do this. Okay, so here's our unit circle. Our unit circle has a radius of one unit. So that means, remember what the radius is? The radius is the distance from the center of the circle to anywhere on the circumference of the circle. So from here, this is our center of the circle right here. And then this is anywhere on the circumference. So we have 4 specific points on the circumference. So this is going to be, from here to here is going to be 1 unit. And if we make this our x-axis and we make this our y-axis, that means that from here to here is going to be 1 unit. Right, let me make that here. This is 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit. So on the x-axis, this is going to be at the point 1, 0. Here for the y-axis, this is going to be at the point 0, 1. And for here on the x-axis, this is going to be at the point -1, 0. And also here, if we draw this all the way to the circumference, this is going to be 0, -1. Now, why is this even important? This is super important because we now go back to our quadrants. If you notice, I've put in 4 quadrants in the circle. Now, in the quadrants, we're going to get back to what we know about quadrants, that this starts at 0, this goes to 90, this goes to 180, this goes to 270, and this goes back to 360 when you complete the circle. So question is, why do we even care about all these points? Because in the unit circle, we have the x-coordinate represents the cosine. So the x-coordinate represents cosine, and the y-coordinate represents the sine of the angle. All right. Now, what does that mean? Now, I'm going to do something here to also introduce some some radians, so that we have a complete picture. So this is also going to be 0 for radians, and this is going to be 2 pi. This is going to be pi over 2. This is going to be pi, and this is going to be 3 pi over 2. So what this simply means to us as we study this is that the cosine of 0 is equal to 1. Cosine of 360 degrees is 1. The sine of 0 is 0. The sine of 360 is 0. And also the same applies to, let's say, 360 or 2 pi. Right here, 360 or 2 pi. Now let's go over to 90 degrees here. So the cosine of 90 degrees, or pi over 2, is 0. The sine of 90 degrees, or pi over 2, is 1. Now we come over to the next one. So we have the cosine of 180 degrees, or pi, is equal to -1. And then the sine of 180 degrees, or pi, is 0. Now we go to the third quadrant here. We have the cosine of 270 degrees, or 3 pi over 2, is 0. And the sine of 270 degrees, or 3 pi over 2, is -1. So this is generally why you want to understand the unit circle. And now when you have this unit circle, this is going to be a perfect guide whenever you have to find the angles of any type of, the value of any type of angles in your unit circle.